Back in episode 80, I talked about the universe of energy and how we think about energy and sort of the attraction that came about to give us that sense of what energy is to us. And it was really kind of interesting. So the question is, what happened in the time between? And the answer is, they came up with something called Ellen's Energy Adventure, which took a more whimsical look at what energy was and how we use it. Now, there's a little bit more of a story I'm going to tell here about how that came together, but keep in mind that this was a time period when they wanted to tell stories in a different way and talk about things that were a little more interactive and fun for the average guest. You know, when Epcot opened in 1982, there was a lot of interest in sort of the science-y part of it, and learning something and sort of the edutainment. But over time, that changed and it became something else. So let's delve into what Ellen's Energy Adventure was all about. So Disney decided to make a change, and on January 20th, 1996, the pavilion somewhat abruptly closed for a major refurbishment. Now, at the time, no one knew really what that was going to entail. They weren't quite sure what the refurbishment might be, though there were a lot of rumors about the possibilities that might be there. Meanwhile, Exxon's sponsorship was coming up for renewal, and they wanted the Universe of Energy to get a new attraction in time for the pavilion's 15th anniversary, which would be in October of 1997. Now, there was another interesting thing that was happening around the Disney World in the early to mid-90s. There were real-world celebrities that were being brought in to make attractions relevant and recognizable and a little more entertaining in some ways. Disney hoped to rejuvenate the Universe of Energy, making it less dry and in-your-face scientific, and they hoped to give it a lighter and more comedic tone while still keeping the original attraction's basic structure, including the primeval diorama. Now, as Imagineering was known to do, several teams worked on ideas and concepts. The winning concept, obviously, was the one that got a lot of attention along the way, and that was Ellen's Energy Crisis, which would take the format of a game show and star Ellen DeGeneres. So she was so popular and had a style that fit with the concept, so it was a perfect match, right? Right? Perhaps not. ImagineerRebirth.com took a look back and had this to say. Criticizing Ellen's Energy Adventure at Epcot Center is a tricky proposition. It can easily be argued that when Ellen DeGeneres became the host of Exxon's Universe of Energy in 1996, both on film and as an audio animatronic figure, the original show got a vital dose of pure entertainment value that was sorely missed. Sturm und Drang was replaced with levity and laughs. Science Fact was replaced with Science Light, and the brooding orchestral score was replaced with, well, the theme song from Jeopardy! But in their efforts to lighten the tone of the original show, Imagineers perpetuated a dangerous trend that, if continually embraced in the further attractions, will threaten to topple one of the company's greatest legacies, its ability to create timeless entertainment. From Snow White to Pirates of the Caribbean, one of the hallmarks of Disney's brand was its ability to transcend the here and now to take us to worlds of universal appeal populated by characters not threatened by the passage of time or changes in fashion. Classic Disney storytellers deliberately shunned all things anachronistic, keeping a careful eye on any material that threatened to remind audiences of the real world they lived in. But now, with Ellen's Energy Adventure, we have Ellen DeGeneres playing Ellen DeGeneres, Bill Nye playing Bill Nye, and Alex Trebek playing Alex Trebek, all of it grounded firmly in 1996 with nowhere to go but stale. You can bet that in a span of time far shorter than the 14 years of the original Universe of Energy played, we will have long forgotten who Bill Nye was, if we haven't already. Collective wisdom was that it was Disney's Aladdin that shattered the timeless taboo when Robin Williams' Genie actually impersonated Arsenio Hall. Disney theme parks wasted no time in following the trend, with robotic Regis Philbin, Drew Carey, and Whoopi Goldberg popping out amongst the scenery in DCA's Superstar Limo, animatronic vegetables belting out contemporary rock tunes in Epcot's Food Rocks, and the Tiki Birds rapping like the birdies in the under new management back at the Magic Kingdom. Hopefully, the fact that only one of these attractions survives today is less than enough. Imagineers are at their best when they refuse to settle for here and now and instead shoot for the stars. In chasing the hip and trendy, they degrade the Disney brand, cheapen the guest experience, and lose out on far more satisfying reward of creating something truly original, truly profound, and truly timeless. So the story goes on that Imagineers started work on a change. They licensed Jeopardy from Sony Pictures and got to work on a formal script and some changes to the attraction. It was originally scheduled to be a 5-month refurbishment, but problems with the creation and editing of the new attraction's films led Disney to announce that Ellen's Energy Crisis would not be ready for the summer of 1996 and would be delayed into the fall. But Future World East had a bit of a problem. The World of Motion was already closed in order to convert the pavilion to test track, and Horizons had been idle for just over a year. That left the Wonders of Life as the only attraction on that side of the future world. So Disney decided to reopen Horizons to help fill the void. And then they made a fateful decision to reopen the Universe of Energy for the busy summer season. But here's where things get a little weird. They had already made changes to parts of the show and upgraded the ride vehicles, and they'd removed many of the screens, including the kinetic screen based on the Radok design, so they wound up showing old films on temporary screens with some of the changes already made. Also removed were the maps and television monitors on the wall in the Epcot Energy Information Center in the second theater, having already been replaced by the KNRG radio tower backdrop for the new show. For this scene, a new narration played that covered much of the same information as the original narration, minus any mention of the maps and monitors. In the first theater, the mirrors on the walls had already been removed by this point, resulting in a much less dramatic version of the finale film. During this period, some elements for the new show had already been installed in preparation for the new show and had to be hidden. This included the audio animatronic of Ellen DeGeneres in the diorama. Temporary rockwork was placed in front of the figure, hiding it from view. However, the Elasmosaurus figure had already been reprogrammed for the new show, leading to the awkward result of it lunging at rocks instead of at the ride vehicles as it had done in the past. It was kind of a weird mashup that was open from June 1st through September 1st of 1996. It was kind of a sad way to say goodbye to an original attraction. So on September 15th, 1996, Ellen's Energy Crisis opened. But the name didn't quite fit, because Crisis had the wrong connotation and it was renamed to Ellen's Energy Adventure 2 weeks after that, on October 1st, right on time for the 14th anniversary of Epcot.
Hi, and welcome to the Universe of Energy.
The concept was to follow Ellen as she learned about the history and future of energy, rather than dryly telling about energy. Overall, it took a lighthearted look at various energy resources, how energy was produced, the history of energy production, and the search for new energy resources. In particular, it focused on the origins of fossil fuels such as petroleum, coal, and natural gas, and it also mentions renewable resources such as solar and hydroelectric power. And let's not forget the upbeat musical score that was added to help tie it into the new film footage. But it meant that the Universe of Energy song, You Make the World Go Round, came to an end. First, guests viewed an 8-minute film in which Ellen DeGeneres falls asleep and dreams that she is in an energy-themed version of Jeopardy, playing against an old college rival, Judy Peterson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Albert Einstein. Not knowing anything about energy, Ellen falls way behind Judy. At the end of the first round, Bill Nye the Science Guy stepped in and offered to help teach Ellen about energy during the commercial break.
Maybe the universe needs energy, but I don't. I'll take a nap for 100. Now, as most of you know, when someone falls asleep watching TV, that person is going to have a what? Anyone? Anyone?
A crick in the neck?
Bad hair day.
A dream sequence.
That's right, ma'am, a dream sequence. Right.
Anyone else? Judy.
What is petroleum, Alex? What is bituminous? What is solar thermal conversion? What is hydroelectric? What is helium?
And so, as we come to the end of the first round, ladies and gentlemen, Judy has a commanding lead. Ellen has her work cut out for her, and Dr. Einstein is nowhere, relatively speaking.
Is this a nightmare or what?
Oh, Ellen, your first correct response.
Hey, I'm glad you came to help me.
Actually, I came to see Einstein. Wow, you're getting clobbered.
Yeah, this Nightmare Jeopardy version's a lot harder than the home version. Can you help me?
Sure, but first we have to go back.
Backstage?
No, way back, like many billion years ago.
Okay, but can we stop at a mini-mart or something to get some snacks? Because I have a tendency to get hungry after a couple billion years.
No can do, time's a-wasting. Come on, it'll be fun.
Wait, it's not even over. It gets really weird from here. Now some person I don't even know reminds me there's no eating, drinking, smoking, or flash photography allowed in my dream.
Upon entering the theater, guests were seated in one of the 6 sections. The seating area rotated 180 degrees to face the 3 large movie screens for the first film, a 4-minute computer-animated film in which Bill took Ellen billions of years back in time to witness the Big Bang and the formation of Earth.
Yeah, see that single point of very hot, very dense matter? It contains all the energy of the universe. And it's about to expand at an astonishing rate. Oh, here. Better put these on. Hearing protectors. Because it's the Big Bang.
Finally, they ended up in a prehistoric jungle where he briefly explained how fossil fuels were formed.
Here we are, 220 million years in the Earth's past, give or take a day.
Bill, I know I asked you to help me with this energy stuff and everything, but I was kind of hoping you'd show me a slideshow.
A slideshow? I guess that'd be easier, but this is way more fun.
Yeah, this is fun. Where's the energy?
Oh, it's all around you. See, these plants and animals are soaking up energy from the sun. When they die and get buried, time, pressure, and heat will cook them into the fossil fuels we rely on today, like coal, natural gas, and oil.
Now, of course, when you were inside it and you were riding along, you still had the dinosaurs, which was really cool because that was an important part of what energy was. And this attraction, having the dinosaurs inside, that was a big draw. So they kept that in place, even though they didn't do anything else with it, and the rest of the attraction changed. Leaving the diorama, the vehicles entered a second theater where they reassembled back into their original seating formation. After listening to a brief prehistoric broadcast from KNRG Radio, which featured the voices of Willard Scott and Chris Berman of ESPN fame, guests viewed a 12-minute live-action film on the 3 giant wraparound screens in which Bill Nye took Ellen on an in-depth look at various current and future energy resources across the United States. Amusingly, actor Michael Richards, the one who played Kramer on The Seinfeld Show, made a brief cameo appearance as a caveman near the beginning of the film. The Imagineers took some time and effort and figured out what the maximum score that Judy could be at and the maximum score that Ellen could possibly get to come up with a conclusion that actually works. So there's a little subtle science humor in there that the mathematics works out that if everything went perfectly, she could overcome Judy's insurmountable lead. Ellen's Energy Adventure lasted for 21 years as essentially the same attraction. Much later in its tenure, it struggled with attendance, but overall, it was well enough received that it remained open for that entire time. There were some subtle changes made along the way. For example, when Exxon merged with Mobil in 2001, the ride's billboard changed, but really nothing dramatic changed. That within the attraction itself, you would be riding on a machine that was actually being charged by an electromagnet every time it parked. So when it would park and stop, it would be charged up, and then they would use that charge to move it around the building. So you would have this continuous movement, then it would charge back up. It was groundbreaking for its time in 1981, 82, but it really is remarkable, and it was a remarkable thing, and let's talk about that for a minute too. It was so clever and useful that the same technology was used in other attractions around Disney property. It was innovative and opened up new possibilities for several other attractions. The first to use it was the Great Movie Ride at Disney's MGM Studios. The vehicles were smaller and were operated by a live cast member part of the way, but as with the traveling theater, they followed a guide wire, broke apart, and reassembled. But the most clever and effective use of this technology is the Fifth Dimension scene in the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Now, there was one thing that did change that improved efficiency. Sometime around 2000 and then again around 2010, the guide wire system and controllers were updated. Now also, the induction charging system was upgraded and improved at least once along the way. A movable transmission coil, that's basically an arm that's mounted on a platform that moved into position, was added instead of just having the magnet sitting on the floor. And new materials for the receiver coil, made of silver-plated copper, minimized the weight and decreased the resistance, making the whole system more efficient. It was still induction charging, but much better, and it produced more energy with a smaller magnetic field. It's a remarkable thing they were able to do with technology. In 2004, it was time once again to renew the sponsorship with ExxonMobil. They never came to an agreement, and the ride went unsponsored for its last dozen or so years. In his book, Imagineer Marty Sklar noted that they deserved a goof award when they chose not to renew. He reasoned that, in their demands, ExxonMobil violated the 3 commandments of rides, namely 1, know your audience, 2, don't overload them with information, and 3, tell one story at a time. The modifications that they were proposing would have bypassed all 3. And there you go. That's the story about Ellen's Energy Adventure and how that came together and what it was. It wasn't quite the universe of energy, it was something different and unique, but it still talked about energy and how we use it and what it means to us. It was just a different way of kind of looking at it and entertaining and educating sort of in a different sense. It was still lacking in some things, it missed some things along the way, but it really was a pretty decent attraction, at least for the first few years it was open, and then eventually it became kind of stale, and that's why they wound up closing it. Guardians of the Galaxy that exists here now is a very different sort of attraction. If you go inside, it looks nothing like it because at some point they had gutted the entire attraction. There is nothing in here that's familiar or evocative of what it was when it was the Universe of Energy or Ellen's Energy Adventure. Sadly, in a way. But at least we have sort of the building itself. You can see the sloping roof that had the solar panels on the top, and it still has that sort of feeling from the outside of what the Universe of Energy was.